What we're looking at here is a wood handrail around a wood deck and a little bit of debris on the deck. Obviously, let's ignore that. The baluster spacing or any space on the handrail, in between the handrail, is a little further apart than most building codes accept today. But let's not forget that building codes years ago were the spacing was, I believe it was 6 inches at one time, and then they changed it to 4 inches, but don't quote me on that. I know, however, that the current building code is less than 4 inches. And I could swear that I remember looking at one of them and it said that it was 3 7/8. So you'd want to check with your local building department for more information on that. But the topic, or the reason why I'm making this video, is to provide you with a few ideas on how you can baby-proof your hand railing, or I should say guard railing, on a deck if you have this type of a baluster system. Deck guard railing. Now remember, this is not a handrail, even though it's referred to as a handrail. The only way this would be a handrail is if it was not required to be a guardrail. And guardrails most of the time are required for any decks or stairways, any type of platforms more than 30 inches above the ground. So keep that in mind. I went ahead and drew something to provide you with a better example of what I'm talking about. Here we have a guardrail that has baluster spacing about 8 inches, which is about what the previous picture looked like. Now, all we need to do is fill these spaces in with additional balusters. Remember, our ultimate goal is to create a guardrail with less than 4 inches vertical, horizontal, clear space throughout the entire guardrail. Now, if you're going to rebuild the guardrail, keep in mind that most building codes will require a minimum vertical distance from the top of the deck to the top of the handrail at 42 inches. Now, you can always make it 44 inches, but you can't make it less than 42 inches if you're going to rebuild the guardrail. If you are not, again, the purpose of the video is to provide you with ideas to baby-proof something to keep your babies from falling off of the deck. Next up on the list is that we will need to do something with the bottom if this distance is greater than 4 inches, and sometimes all you need to do is add a small board across the bottom. This could actually be a 2x4. If it's going to be spanning distances longer than let's say 6 feet, I would suggest using a 2x4 because if you were to use like a 2x2 or something smaller, it might be a little weaker in the center. It might not provide you with enough strength. Next up, I went ahead and provided you with a couple of close-ups just in case I lost anybody or you're having a hard time figuring out what in the heck's this guy talking about. Hopefully you can get a better idea there. Now, there is one more thing I'd like to suggest, and that would be adding a 1x2, a 1x3, a 1x4 to the front upper areas. And that would basically be the white board here. And this will definitely provide you with some more support. Remember, these guardrails need to, I think it's about 200 pounds per square inch. It's a lot of pressure that they need to withhold to meet building codes. And I understand you're only protecting your, the reason for this video is to protect your children, but the last thing you want to do is have have a problem fastening these boards securely enough to where you have a small kid that can just push them right through. And of course, that would defeat the purpose of the reinforcement, obviously. Here's a close-up, or a side view, I should say, give you an idea of what we're doing. And this is basically using screws to attach to each baluster. And it's not that hard to figure out. You can always use the screws or some type of hardware to attach the 1x4 to the bottom railing too that's running parallel with it. Now here is one more thing. You can always add a 1x6 or a 1x4 to the bottom. And this right here, especially if your deck is, let's just say it's 6 to 8 feet off the ground, or it's a deck above another deck where people are walking, something like this will prevent a child from actually kicking one of their toys or pushing one of their toys off of the deck and hitting someone in the head, or losing the toys or whatever they're playing with. So this might not be a bad idea. If I was going to reinforce a deck for children, this is something I would definitely put in, because it again is going to help with, not eliminate all the time, but it will definitely help with a majority of objects flying off of the deck. Now here's something you do not want to do, and I know this would be the easiest way to fix something like this, but I would, if you're going to do it, if you're going to just put a solid piece of plywood or something on there, great. But if you were to actually build something like this, it actually provides a ladder for kids as they get older. This is actually something they could climb up. So don't do something like this. It's something I definitely wouldn't recommend, because it would defeat the purpose again of if they were to figure out that, hey, I could climb up this thing and jump off the other side. One more thing I'd like to mention is that this method right here, where you're using the screws, might not work well if it's out of your reach. If you have a deck that's over 5 feet from the ground, you might need a ladder to actually install this type of system. But if you're 2 or 3 stories up in the air, you might need to come up with a different system. So I just wanted to throw that out. And you could always use these boards on the inside also. You could actually use them, just put them on the inside, or you could actually put them on both sides. When I used to build a lot of decks, we would use a 1x3 at the top and the bottom of both sides as a decorative thing. But when you do that, sometimes you're going to trap debris in the bottom, because it's actually forming a little cup there, or a little cylinder that anything gets caught in there is going to be caught. You're going to have to clean it out. So anyway, I hope that helps. If it does, hit the old thumbs up button. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment area.